What up, Bushido? Spirit Power Book Ghost Exceeding Expectations. Now, I had intended to do this review with another person, but things didn't work out that way, so I will just do the review by myself. But before I get into that, like, comment, and sub to the channel for more reviews on Power Book, Lovecraft Country, and other shows. Maybe even more top 10 list. Anyway, let's jump right into it. So this episode was just okay. Nothing that blew me out of the water. This is just pretty much set up for what's to come later on. A lot of setup this episode, and I appreciate that. Hopefully the payoff is worth the amount of setup. But like I said last time, this feels like a power episode. Like the style of show didn't switch up for this spinoff. And to some people that's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing, who knows. But let's get right into the story of this episode. Sax still being a piece of shit, not doing things by the book. And why would he? Doing things by the book doesn't help at all. They just take L's. And doing things dirty gets him promotions. And everybody in the department knows that Sax is dirty as fuck. So McLean tries to get the judge to dismiss the charges against Tasha due to dirty practices by Sax, but the judge declines. Sax in a five-head play brings in Blanca to convince the judge he isn't out to get Tasha and James Stead, that these kingpin charges are not without reason. Also this episode, he enlists Garza, a former Donovan agent, to be his investigator for the case. Garza is straight-laced, the complete opposite of Sax, by the book. He and Sax bump heads at first, but he eventually comes around when he learns McLean is the opposition. McLean has a reputation for allowing killers to escape, or the guilty to escape. Maybe killers is a little bit too strong, but I'm assuming that too. Speaking of which, McLean's trying to help Tasha convince everyone she wasn't the head of Ghost Operation. He tells her to discredit him at the funeral to make her story about being a wife under duress believable. He tells Tariq to do the same, but Tariq is hesitant, especially after Simon told him tarnishing his father's legacy could disrupt their financial situation. It's more beneficial to uphold the lie. At the funeral, Tariq doesn't do anything but tell the truth. He didn't know much about his father. However, he was aware of his intentions, and those were honorable, though he disagreed with his methods. This is very telling, because last season Tariq pretended not to understand, too hurt by his father's infidelity to see reason. Now that Ghost is dead, and he isn't in direct opposition of him, things are more clear, but not for the case. Not for Tasha. This moment of vulnerability didn't help McLean's cause, or the DNC, who rolled out Tate in case they needed to change the narrative. But it was a pretty good scene. Hopefully Tariq continues to learn about his father through elders like Uncle Gabe, who appeared at the funeral. Ghost did manage to turn dirty money into clean money. That is something to admire. And had he not been killed, he would have been successful. Meanwhile, Monet, Ezekiel's aunt, is an actual kingpin. She is what they think Tasha is. She is so powerful that she is in bed with the cops. Literally. I mean, I know Mary J's ass is fat, but you can't be this naive. Come on. This cop/lover is trying to convince Monet to leave the game. He promises to use his position on the force to protect her, but there is no protection like reputation, the kind of reputation that her husband Lorenzo affords her, especially in these streets. But the cop does not give up. He tries to prove himself by telling her Uncle Frank, Lorenzo's brother who just got out, is a snitch, an informant, and here's the papers to prove it. But he's too late. Too much time has passed. Kane had already dispatched their foe. Uncle Frank is somewhere in a goddamn container in a lake somewhere. And this man is just now bringing over the papers to say that he's a snitch. Oh man. Oh man. But maybe next time he'll be faster. Maybe he'll come through with the good intel. Because Uncle Frank swinging in was obvious as hell. Hell, it was so obvious, even Tariq knew. Speaking of which, he had I'm still trying to figure out how are they going to fully bring him in the game. Because this episode, we get the idea that maybe there will be something down the line. They'll find a way to connect him to Monet and her family. And this episode kind of hints at that. Kane drops him off at school, but halfway there, he stops the car and attempts to scare Tariq, thinking he's a square or something. But we all know that's false. Instead, Kane is impressed by how much he knows. I mean, he was at the dinner when Uncle Frank dropped by. He could tell he was a snitch even before that cop brought the papers over. Kane tells Monet. Monet is intrigued. The next day, Kane's sister, Diana, stops by Tariq's dorm. Tariq needs a favor. At the funeral, his mother tells him she needs morning after pills. She intends to use these pills to get in the good graces of the top dog in the prison. Tariq has no connections to complete this task, so he asks Diana's mother, Monet, for a favor. Mission complete. But more than that, Monet also manages to sneak in a phone. I'm guessing Monet is going to need something in return from Tariq for this favor. Lastly, Professor Milgram is still trying to get Tariq to open up about his father. She holds a vigil on campus hoping to give Tariq the opportunity to open up about it. Tariq doesn't respond in the manner she expected. Her plan to get Tariq to open up was a failure, and Reynolds warned her about that, not to get too involved in Tariq's business. She tends to do that a lot, hinting at a failed relationship they both had. He also revealed he may have published a book based on her life without her consent, which probably is the reason they no longer have a relationship, but there's clearly still love there. Anyway, back to the vigil. Rather than stay and mourn with the other students, Tariq and Chase go to Chase's brother's party. The party isn't important. What is how much clout Chase's family has on campus. The man has so much money the cops are afraid to overstep. This is extremely significant because this will enable Tariq to peddle his drugs without fear of the cops. And this may be how he gets in bed with Monet. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much everything that happened this episode. I may have missed some things that I don't feel was too important. I do like how they are attempting to use these books that Tariq is reading in canonical studies as metaphors for his life or people in his life. But I'm not going to sit up here and lie and say that I read any of those books or know what the fuck is going on when they get to that part of the show. But I do appreciate that it's there.